Okay, again, welcome everybody in person here for the February meeting of the North Point Peninsula Council. And we'd like to welcome everybody who's watching Facebook Live and then all of you who might be watching sometime in the future. We're going to start our meetings as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Praise the Lord and peace be with all.
Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. We're going to go through our agenda. I think there's an agenda on all the tables. We're getting through as much of it as we can. First, we always do in our meetings is our police report for the community, and so invite Officer Reeves to come up.
You can give them a warm welcome.
And we got Captain in the car with him. If you can't hear him, let us know.
I'd be shocked if they couldn't. Yeah. Okay, so your crime stats are from January 2nd to February 5th. You had 226 calls for service, 49 reports that were written. You had one theft from auto, and that was on 6th Street. There was an unlocked car. Some tools were stolen out of the car. No theft of autos, no burglaries. You had one robbery, and that was at the Food Lion. Some students from Sparrows Point High robbed another student by force, and the item that was robbed was recovered, and the individuals were charged in reference to that. And that's all you have. I got nothing else. Questions or comments, concerns?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Did notice that they had an officer set out on the road taking radar to the Amazon 500. We appreciate that. And I have noticed officers inside the community. I mean, I live on a dead end, and they were down around there, so appreciate that.
Okay. Amazon 500. She's had her traffic people taking care of that, and Captain DeCara will pass along the other.
So we looked at some stats for the area because we have heard your concerns about the traffic issues, pretty much from Beltway or Beth Boulevard on down North White Boulevard. So last year there was 20 crashes in that area. By the way, if you didn't hear, if you don't know me, Tony DeCara, I'm the precinct captain here, Dundalk, Edgemere. So I try and get out to as many of these meetings as we can. We have a lot of community groups. But I also want to put in a plug. We have our P12 Alliance meetings every month. It's coming up this coming Monday at the library at 6:30. So up the library here at Mayor Boulevard. So you're all welcome to that as well. And that's where a lot of the groups come together. But we try and get out to as many of these as we can. And I know Chris does a good job keeping you guys informed. So if you have any concerns, please make sure you bring it to our attention. So anyway, we're looking at that stretch for increased enforcement efforts. So you will see us down there more, writing some tickets. A lot of the crashes are happening when people are pulling out of the businesses or pulling out without checking, and of course the excessive speeds gives you much less room for error, right? So you're going to see more of us down there, as a result. So any questions or concerns for me? Yes, sir.
So the other day, I was coming out of Spurs Point Road and North Point Road, right in front of the elementary school. Now, the elementary school has a playground right on the outside of the front of the school. So as I pulled out and made a left, this tractor trailer laid on his horn. I had the green light. He laid on his horn. He had a truckload of concrete in the back, barriers. And he just flew right by me. But if he would have clipped me and then went into the elementary school, there would have been dozens of kids killed. And we have houses that are 5 and 10 feet away from North Point Road. Everybody's doing 40 miles an hour. So what I'd like to do, and what my society would like to do, is change the speed limit from the boulevard to, say, the Miller's Island and Fort Howard Fork there, and make it a blinking 25 miles an hour, because it's nothing but high schools and elementary schools and churches. And we got the food line there. 25 with a blinking light, photo enforced.
So I think if you want traffic engineering to look at that, we'll get you an email address. Chris, will you get that email address, figure out who exactly to contact? I think you can maybe get some signatures together and whatnot, but they'll have a thing you can fill out the address. I think it should be 30, right? 30 or 35 through there? 30, yeah.
But that tonnage, and
Where was
that's,
that truck go?
where was it gone? It was lost.
Yeah. We've had a lot of that, unfortunately, all throughout the area. We've had trucks on Dunman Way get stuck. We had a truck not too long ago, this is true, get stuck down the end of Dundalk Avenue looking for the bridge. Water's Edge to go over. Swear.
There's been dozens of trucks,
it's
18-wheelers that
been
walk, that go all the way down to Iroquois. From North Point Road, from here, go all the way down to Iroquois, and has no place to.
Yeah, I don't know what they would be doing.
Well, Bayfront, Iroquois, it goes all the way down to the end, you can't go any further.
Yeah.
So they go into the Moose, it's the old Moose, and they turn around there and come out, but at that speed, with that weight,
Right.
it's gonna kill somebody, it's gonna kill kids. And it's nothing but elementary schools and high schools here.
Right. So as far as traffic engineering goes, they set the speed limits, but we certainly can have a presence down here, keep an eye out for not just the speeding, but the trucks too. If they don't have a local delivery, they shouldn't be down there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My name's Russell Dowling, Raj Forest area. Is anything in the works in the police department that, or, law enforcement, for the forthcoming rise of traffic on this peninsula and in this region? Because it's going to get, they haven't even seen the full opening of Marine Bulk Transit yet. And when it does, right now, people are already screaming and having trouble now. And then the keeper is down, really it's down. But is there a larger discussion going on about safety, driver safety, and how to set up our roads to effectively adopt and incorporate the industry?
Yes. So we added a postcard for the Edgemere area and the industrial area around Tradepoint a few years ago. So there's an additional postcard for this squad. Also, we're in the design phase. I guess we're to about 60% for a substation that's going to be co-located with the fire training facility. And so we'll have offices there, and our chief has indicated he wants a dedicated traffic unit to work out of that facility. It's still in the planning stages, but the building is pretty much laid out, and there will be facilities in there for traffic folks to work out of. So yeah, we're aware that the growth that's taking place is going to necessitate additional delivery of services, and we're responding right now to complaints and concerns, as we talked about earlier. But we will continue to, I think, have more of a presence in the future, as a result.
Thank you. I was just asking.
Yes, sir.
So if I can just add a little bit to that, Russ. So we've been working with Tradepoint and state highways, especially on the stretch coming from where the subway is all the way down to Beth Boulevard where it's coming in. And state highways, a couple weeks ago, a month ago or so, presented a draft plan that they're working on for safety. So it would be traffic safety, pedestrian safety all along that stretch. So we're have another meeting with them, and I think toward the end of the month. But a shameless plug, they are our speakers for next month. And they're supposed to be bringing this plan to the community to get feedback from everybody. So that's the first Thursday of March. I don't know the date offhand, maybe the 6th again, but everybody's welcome to come back for that. We've talked about the safety concerns, especially with double parked trucks and that whole thing, and not being able to see coming out. So it really is on everybody's radar, the upcoming traffic and have the impact that that's going to have on us. So,
Anybody else? I'll be around if you want to come back and chat. All right, thank you all.
thanks, Tom. So they're working on that project, and they're estimating that the cost would be $9 million for that little stretch. So that's going to probably be a challenge trying to get money out of it now. And I forgot to, we have a lot of people who have never been here. I'm Fran Taylor, and I'm the president of the council. And to my right there is Ed Kreiser, he's the vice president. And then Eddie Kreiser, and then Linda, our secretary. So again, welcome to everybody, and we'll move right along. So next on the agenda is Tradepoint Atlantic. We've been partnering with them for about 10 years now. They've been coming every year to give us an update on the project. They were just here in November, I think. That was before the report came out and before all the results of the testing on the material that they are proposing to dredge. So we invited them back. They're going to decipher some of the 792-page report for us. And it'll be a great time to ask questions. You know, this is probably not the time to get into some big discussions of this is what I'd like to see. The meeting for that will be with the Corps of Engineers, I think. I think it's at the 26th, 25th down in Turner. So they'll be the ones that if you really, we'll be putting the letter together and presenting that to them. There's another date in March, I'm sure they're going to tell you, will be the date to finally put in your comments as far as the report goes. But we're really happy that they're here tonight to give us some updated information, and please ask questions if you have any.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fran. Appreciate the opportunity, and good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Aaron Tamarkio. I'm the Executive Vice President of Corporate Affairs for Tradepoint. I've been with Tradepoint Atlantic for the last 10 years. I was actually employee number 4 that came here when we were working on the demolition of the steel mill and setting forward the plan for Tradepoint Atlantic. And appreciate the opportunity for the North Point Council to provide a forum, as you always have, for us to have a dialogue with the community. And I have brought a series of folks here that will be taking over for me from time to time as we go through this short presentation. But the purpose of tonight is to just kind of highlight some key areas that we're hearing from our partners in the community, some concerns that they have or ideas that they have, and highlight the opportunity to provide input into this process. We did put together a frequently asked questions document that's available also on our website. There's a printed version here that really helps synthesize this 800-page report. And there's even more addendums to this that we've been going through over the last couple of years. Just rewinding a little bit, and we've been presenting about this project for the last 2 years. In fall of 2022, we entered into a joint venture agreement with Terminal Investment Limited, which is a subsidiary of Mediterranean Shipping Company, MSC. They chose Baltimore as a location to expand their container terminal operations along the east coast of the United States. It's a very significant investment and opportunity to grow the Port of Baltimore. We thought it complemented the plan that we set forward to redevelop Tradepoint Atlantic, the Spurs Point site, and also we thought it would be a great location down at Coke Point, perfect use of that 330-acre peninsula. So since 2022, we have put together a team of experts that have been going through an extensive process to design the terminal, to understand the environmental around the terminal, and then to work through the permitting process that it's going to take to be able to build what we're hoping to build there. And through that, we've been rolling out, as we know, information. And this fall, in Christmas, we were able to pull all of the information that we've been gathering over the last 2 years together into this Army Corps document that is out for public comment. And that's the period that Fran had talked about. There is going to be a public hearing on February 25th at Solars Point Multipurpose Center from starts at 5 p.m. And then there'll be an online version on February 27th. All of the information about this project, we've been very, very conscientious about curating our website, spctmp.com, to share with the community all of the data and information about this project. Links to federal websites, links to state websites, links to reports, so you can read as much information as you want about this particular project. And it was important for us to make sure that was out there. That's part of kind of what we've been trying to do as a company, to make sure the information is widely and easily available. So,
Just mentioned the Southern Channel test results and the analysis tabulated has been out there for months, and the North Channel has been out there since last month. So if anybody wants to see the results, the actual analysis, you can just access this website and you can see those results.
so we'll go through real quick. Again, this project is what actually, when it's done, will elevate the Port of Baltimore to the third largest port on the East Coast of the United States. We're currently the sixth. It's bringing about $1 billion of private investment into Baltimore and creating about 8,000 jobs will be connected to the terminal. And there's been a lot of conversation about the jobs at the terminal. We're looking at 1,100 union ILA jobs. They are going to be operating that terminal. It's a huge growth opportunity for unionized jobs in the region and for the Baltimore area. A lot of conversation too about whether or not this terminal is going to be automated. It will not be automated the way folks think. There is a terminal that we looked at in Valencia, Spain, that the way they're currently operating today, it's going to be a very similar terminal in labor. We've been great partners with the ILA, talking to them about this terminal and what it means. So, they understand the labor component and kind of how this terminal is going to operate. And then just growing the state's economy. So next slide. This is the process that we're in, that we started.
Excuse me a minute, Aaron.
Yeah.
I got to switch you around because you're right in the middle. Okay.
I have in the wrong talk a lot.
No, it's all right. I want to be able to get this slide.
So this
Okay.
is the process, the NEPA process that is run by the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a federal process that's also linked up with our state regulators that is looking at every element, every aspect of this project. And we started this back in 2023, and then now we're here in 2025 with the draft environmental impact statement that's out for public review. And we're going to share with you tonight just a few elements of that. We're not going to share the whole thing. We're just picking out some of the areas that we know, based on conversations we've had with the community over the last several years, the issues people are most concerned about. And one of those issues, in creating the terminal, we have to dredge about 4.25 million cubic yards of material to widen and deepen the Sparrows Point Channel to bring in the vessels that we need to bring in for the container terminal. The Sparrows Point Channel is an active marine channel. We have bulk vessels, ro-ro vessels that come through that channel on a daily basis. It's just not as deep or as wide as it needs to be for the container vessels to be able to operate there. We did go through a dredging program back in 2017 to be able to open up that marine terminal for that type of traffic, and we made significant improvements down at the waterfront in the turning basin for that particular terminal operation. The container terminal is an extension of that terminal operation and the Sparrows Point channel. So the 4.25 million cubic yards, we've been having conversations about where do we place that material. And our team of engineers have come up with what we call a blended approach, which takes about 4.2 million cubic yards and places it in 4 different areas of placement. And that is what we call 2 areas are on-site, which would be at Sparrows Point, and the other 2 are off-site, which would be a DMCF operated by the Maryland Port Administration, and then ocean placement at a Norfolk disposal facility that's run by EPA. And we'll go through those. So this is just a quick highlight. This is actually a snapshot out of the EIS that shows the areas of placement that are under consideration in this particular proposal. Just to highlight, the Coal Pier Channel is one of the on-site placement locations, so this will actually be in water. This is the old Coal Pier for those of you who may or may not be familiar with Sparrows Point. That's the northern edge of the Coke Point Peninsula, and what we're proposing is placing a dike at the end of that Coal Pier Channel and being able to place 750,000 cubic yards of material there. The next on-site location is the Highhead Industrial Basin Reservoir. That's just located to the north of I-695. This particular facility will be able to accommodate 1.2 to 1.7 million cubic yards of material. And there is a diking structure that will need to be kind of erected there to be able to build up for material placement. And that diking should be right around 20 feet above the existing grade of the facility. We are working with Baltimore City to get them out of that particular facility. This is a long-standing arrangement that's been there when the steel mill was operating, where Back River would discharge their treated effluent into the basin. There would be pumps that would pump from the basin to the industrial water lines that fed all of the mill operations. Well, as the mill shut down, there's no need for those extensive water lines. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be paying the electricity bill on the pumps on a monthly basis. It's quite outrageous. The city agrees, and because there's no need to kind of have a place for it to go to be pumped into a facility, they would then do a direct feed that would be gravity fed out to the existing outlet that they discharge from on the west side of Sparrows Point. So it's much more efficient for the city. It's actually saves ratepayers money because they're not paying for an outrageous electric bill, and it allows us to be able to utilize that facility for the dredging material containment. The two other alternatives here that are being considered is ocean placement, and Pete will talk to you in a minute about what we went through to kind of make sure that the material that we would place there tested for ocean placement and where that material is particularly coming from. There's a high standard that has to be met in order for material to be able to utilize to go into this facility. And this is just right off the coast of Norfolk, Virginia. Next. The other location that is off-site from the Sparrows Point Peninsula is one of the facilities at MPA facilities, a dredge containment facility, an already existing facility that services the Port of Baltimore and takes dredge material from the existing channels. So that is a commitment from the state for about 1.25 million cubic yards. This is a placement that will take place over a period of about 3 years. And it is not going to displace the commitments that the MPA has for other dredging that they have to do, for the Army Corps and other interests. So we're kind of like squeezing in for whatever little extra capacity there might be in that given year, and we're kind of being able to place as they have that extra capacity.
Yeah, actually, it's 4 years.
4 years.
And that really impacts the timing of the project.
Correct.
That's an answer to a question I wrote just recently.
Okay, 4 years. Okay, we'll talk more about that. So moving into the dredge material, now that we have the locations that have been identified in the report, and that we have actually talked to on a number of occasions publicly with the community, there is an extensive scientific testing and analysis that has to occur on this material. These are standard procedures and processes that have been adopted and evolved over many years within the state, and we have been working through that. It took our team a good year to design a plan, get the plan approved by federal and state regulators, and to execute the plan and to now analyze and report on the results. So very, very extensive process, and Pete's going to talk to you, and we have our team that actually helped design the plan and do the testing here with you to talk about that. So I'm going to turn the rest of the presentation, and I'll come back up to talk about some other elements of the project. Later, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Pete Hague, who's our Vice President of Environmental, or Peggy. We're going to turn it over to Peggy. You're going to hear right from her. So Peggy is with EA Engineering. She's been our point person for this particular part of the project. And I'm sure you've probably heard Peggy before. I think she came in November or earlier last year before. But Peggy's been doing a lot of work within the port for many years. And she can talk to you about what we've been able to do on this particular Hey.
Thanks, Aaron. Great to see everyone here tonight. So we've been spending a lot of time. We spent really almost an entire year.
Can you move?
An entire year.
Can you move over just a hair? Right there. Okay.
Hold on.
No, yeah, back up.
Okay, all right. So we've spent the past year doing a series of sampling events and testing of the material from the channel. So tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we designed that program, what the results are, and how the results are intended to be used, and open to answering any questions that you might have. We tested the entire channel.
Yeah. I think your mic is.
We tested the entire channel.
Okay.
Okay. For upland placement, which means placement out of the water. And then we looked at the southern part of the channel, the part of the channel that's closest to the Federal Navigation Channel. And that part was tested for ocean placement. We designed sampling and analysis plans for both the upland placement and the ocean placement. Those plans were approved through EPA. Ocean placement is regulated by EPA. And then MDE and MPA reviewed the plans for the upland placement. And what we did was we divided the entire channel, the entire area that's going to be dredged, into what we call dredging units. And we divided it into 28 dredging units. And the point is to characterize the material within each one of those units separately so that you can manage it separately if it has different characteristics, if it has different chemical characteristics or different physical characteristics. It gives you the ability to be able to put material from each dredging unit maybe in a different place based on what the results of the testing are. It really allows us to determine how to safely dredge each unit and how to just manage it after we remove the material from the water. We sampled multiple locations in each one of those units, a total of 97 locations where we actually took core samples, and those samples went down to the project dredging depth, which is 50 feet. We added 2 feet for over-depth allowance, which has to do with inaccuracies in dredging. So all of the material was evaluated based on that whole column down to minus 52 feet. And it's pretty interesting. We use both these specialized equipment, vibrocoring equipment, which actually vibrates a core barrel down into the sediment column. And in some cases, because some of those sediment cores were more than 40 feet long, we actually had a sonic drill rig, which is a similar type apparatus, but it's kind of a much larger scale drilling. Okay. Here on the far right, we tested for just about anything and everything. Nearly 300 chemical constituents, and this is the list of all of the different things that we tested. Each one of those dredging units for.
Your mic is not working.
Next. Sorry, I feel like I have to keep the mic. Okay. All right. This slide is just to give you an idea. You can see the sampling, there's different sampling locations. It was a pretty intensive sampling program in terms of the 97 locations. And now I'm just going to talk a little bit about, we'll talk about the North Channel area and the South Channel area. This is the North Channel area. It was divided into 13 dredging units. So we have dredging units here on the right that are in the existing channel, and we have dredging units on the left, which are areas where the channel is going to be widened, where the wharf and the berthing area will be. We had 4 sampling locations within each of those dredging units. Okay, ocean placement. These are the ocean placement dredging units here on the right, in the bottom part of the channel. One thing I want to tell you a little bit about the ocean placement testing is that it is a very rigorous testing program. You have to demonstrate that the material will not have any type of adverse effect on the marine environment. So there's different types of tests that are conducted in a laboratory using very sensitive aquatic organisms. You look at mortality, and you look at different types of developmental effects of the material. When the material is placed in the water column, as it moves through the water column, is there anything that's coming out of the sediments that would impact aquatic life? It also looks at when the material is placed on the bottom, can things actually live in it? So that's another type of test. And then you actually look at bioaccumulation, and what that is there uptake of chemicals from the sediment into aquatic organisms that live in the sediments, aquatic worms and clams. So it's a whole series of tests. They're done in the laboratory. And then all that information is statistically compared to reference numbers to demonstrate that there's no adverse effect by placing that material in the ocean. So I just wanted to make that clear, because some people think that we're just taking it to the ocean and it's not really regulated. It's highly regulated. So we had, go back. So we had 15 dredging units in the south portion of the channel, and 14 of those 15 dredging units passed all 4 requirements. There are 4 requirements that they have to pass for ocean placement, and that's a total about 1.7 million cubic yards. Now I'm going to hand this over to Cynthia. Cynthia's going to talk to you about how we evaluated the data for the southern part of the channel. The northern part of the channel.
Hey, hi everybody. I'm Cynthia Cheatwood, and I'm also with EA Engineering, and I am what's called a human health risk assessor. So it is my job to take any chemicals that are found in material, soil, water, and evaluate if there's going to be health effects to people who may live near a site that we're evaluating, live by it, recreate, work on it, and things like that. So in order to evaluate these health effects, we perform a process called risk assessment. And the risk assessment takes the chemicals that are found in the material. So as Peggy had mentioned, the over 300 things that were tested for. So whatever is found in that material, we take those results and we model an exposure to that material, and that's called a dose. And so I want to point out an important caveat of a risk assessment is you have to have exposure. So just the presence of a material doesn't cause a health effect. You have to have exposure. And based upon the placement options that Tradepoint's looking at, exposure is not expected to the dredge material, or it's expected to be minimal. However, we still evaluated it such that exposure did occur. So we evaluate all the DUs, so every single one in the north and the south channel for this evaluation. And we did this, we followed MDE's dredge material guidance. So MDE's dredge material guidance is really for the reuse of dredge material. So it's if you're going to take the dredge material, use it as fill in along a shoreline, at a park, or other areas along a highway. That's not going to happen with this material. However, it gives us a process that's very prescribed to follow. And it also gives a layout of categories of material. So the first thing is none of the material tested or is identified as hazardous waste. So both EPA and Maryland Department of Environment and MDE have very detailed standards on what is hazardous waste. And none of it is hazardous waste. And also, based upon all of the guidance that MDE has, all of the material could be reused. So the chemical concentrations that are in the sediment are not high enough to cause health effects that would eliminate it from reuse. So as you can see, there's 5 DUs, and they're colored up here for a little bit better, that are what we call a Category 1 unrestricted reuse. I'll describe that in a little bit in a minute. And then 21 of the DUs are a Category 2, which is a restricted use. So it's similar to basically reusing it at Tradepoint as fill or soil at Tradepoint. And then 2 of the DUs were restricted use also, but they should be capped to limit kind of exposure. So as I said before, an important part of the risk assessment is an exposure. So when I evaluate something and call it category 1, the way I evaluate that exposure is as if it's a soil. And so I would assume you have, somebody would come and they have a potential to ingest the soil, have dermal contacts so get it on their skin for extended periods of time, and also inhale dust that comes off of that material. And so when we say a category 1, that means we're also evaluating the child in that exposure too. And that exposure, we assume, occurs over 350 days out of the year. So that's 7 days a week for 50 weeks. And then we also assume the exposure occurs over 26 years. So that just goes to show how high of exposure we're modeling in our assessment to determine if there's any health effects. So it's very consistent. Next slide. So this is just kind of similar to what we said on the last slide, except this is more of a representation of the volume of material. So 89% of the material classifies as category 2 or category 1. And then only 11% is the category 3, which we call it cap require, but that just kind of gives Tradepoint options on placement and how they're going to dredge and things like that.
Okay, so we just talked about the dredge material placement options and the dredge material analysis that was done. We're going to go a little bit into some of the impacts, and I know there are some folks here who have some questions on kind of the view shed. When you erect these cranes, when you erect the DMCF at High Head and at the Coal Care Channel, what's it going to look like? And these are just a few representations. There is a full suite of photographs in the draft EIS, and you can download a PDF of that and be able to kind of really get a close-up look. Clearly, these pictures aren't going to do any justice from where you all are sitting, but it does model out the view shed impacts from the east side of Sparrows Point, the west side of Sparrows Point, looking from the south to the north. So it's all the different particular view sheds that one might have, and what the facility, if it's built, what it would look like, and how it would impact the view shed. So that information is there. I'm pointing that out to just show that you can find out more information about that. We can talk more about it, but that's kind of where it is. These are some more photographs. This, I think, is from Fleming Park and Turner Station. There's another one from Fort Howard that's been modeled. So you can kind of really get an up-close view of that. So I would encourage you to do that. The next piece, and I'm moving quickly, but because we want to open it up for questions, is the traffic. And we know that there is definitely some concern of traffic, and obviously when you have a container terminal of this size, there's going to be traffic that's going to be generated as a result of it. 30% of the cargo that will come into the new terminal will go out by rail. The rest is probably definitely going to go out by truck. And we modeled the design of the container terminal to make sure that we utilize the western side of Sparrows Point as the main ingress and egress for the terminal. Most of the terminal traffic, all the terminal traffic will be coming out this way. And if you can see, the roadway, for the most part, remains within the Sparrows Point boundaries up until you get to Bethlehem Boulevard, and then they would utilize the full interchange at Peninsula Expressway to be able to go directly to I-695. So this is a direct line of sight from the container terminal to a major interstate to be able to go to their north and south points for their ultimate delivery. So that's the current traffic plan and pattern. We had conducted a pretty extensive traffic study looking at the existing roadway infrastructure, looking at the roadway infrastructure that's been improved over the last several years. You've seen some improvements to Bethlehem Boulevard, and the different additional lanes have been added there. All of that modeling is showing that the current built environment, aside from a few intersection improvements that we're going to need to make, will function with this terminal traffic the way they're meant to function. So there's no failure of intersections. There's no failure of roadway infrastructure that would occur as a result of the traffic coming from the terminal and the build out thereof. We do want to talk about the Maryland 151 safety and roadway improvement. Working with the North Point Council, we did work to get some funding from the state of Maryland a couple of years ago to do a study and engineering design on what improvements could happen on North Point Boulevard from that boulevard down to the entrance of Tradepoint Atlantic. And that's what Fran and Ed were talking about. They'll present their study results next month. And the importance of that is to make sure that we've got a safer roadway. The roadway is built properly, got proper turn lanes. And in their plan, they're actually looking at having safer walkway scenarios as well. That should traffic calm that part of North Point Boulevard that connects into the Tradepoint Boulevard. So more conversations on that. Yes?
Could you just point out where the rails are going to be, and are they existing already?
Yes. The rail? Yes. Can you go back here? I'm going to come out here. There will be one dock rail right here from the facility that will go up into, I think they'll go up into our rail yard. There's a rail yard here to go up. And it goes right up into the main rail yard where CSX and Norfolk Southern will service the property. Most of the traffic is expected to go through CSX, and CSX accesses the Sparrows Point area from the west side. So we'll go up west side. And then out, work its way through Baltimore, Howard Street, Congress, out to the Midwest market. So that's the thoroughfares. Everything really west side.
You might want to give everybody their bearings, like what communities are where.
So if you're not familiar with Sparrows Point, we're over here. This is Edgemere, Fort Howard area over here. Up here is Water's Edge, Turner Station. And then up further north, we've got the Sparrows New Country Club, and then Dundalk area as well. So that's kind of orienting you to that. Key Bridge over here. Okay. And another important thing I want to point out here is we have yet to see the built improvements fully function. Over the last several years, we've been dealing with detour scenarios that have been directing a lot of the traffic through this roadway, which is the North Point, Sparrows Point interconnection, up to the choke point, which I know everybody sees at North Point Boulevard and Bethlehem Boulevard. As soon as the bridges were fixed here at Wharf Road Interchange, very extensive project. We had the collapse of the Key Bridge that altered traffic patterns, and then we had the advancing of the restoration work that's being done on the bridges on 695, where they shut down interchanges to be able to do the work there over the next couple of years. So this intersection dynamic and the improvements have yet to fully operate. We've been under a detour scenario for the last several years. So I think as we look at the traffic, and obviously there is, understanding the situation that the traffic is in, and that is not going to be a permanent situation that we have right now. Move forward, we're going to go into some of the mitigation projects, and Pete's going to talk a little bit about that, what it means for us to have to do mitigation, why we're doing mitigation, and where those projects are being focused on. So,
Aaron,
again,
real quick,
this is another part of the EIS.
could you point out the rail, back on that slide, because I didn't have it on the map when you were pointing out the rail and somebody wants to see.
Sure. Again, one dock rail down here. It will
Yeah.
come up through our property. There's an interchange yard here. It will come up along the along the retail area. There's a red line in front, and it kind of circles up right up into here, where our northern interchange yard is. Spurs Point Country Club is just north of here. And then CSX, which will be the majority hauler for a lot of the cargo, comes in on the west side of Sparrows Point.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Evening, everybody. My name is Peter Hayes. If you haven't met me, I'm the Senior VP for Environmental for the Tradepoint Atlantic. I'm going to talk a little bit about the wetlands or the mitigation obligations that we've approved as part of this project and what our plans are to address those mitigation requirements. But I think first it'd be helpful to understand exactly what is precipitating these obligations. And to do that, Chris, can you go back to the last slide? What's precipitating us owing, the mitigation is basically us having an obligation to provide greater environmental restorations or habitats. One of the dredge material options that's being employed is putting a DMCF in the old cold pier channel. It's one of the most efficient and preferred options for the handling of the dredge material. But when we do that, what happens is we put a dike wall across the mouth of the channel, which is, I would say, a pretty distressed channel. I think that maybe the benthic organisms were considered was a low value or very degraded. That said, the agencies, the National Marine Fishery, for instance, looks at this as a central fish habitat. When we fill in the pier channel, which is about 19 acres, we are essentially taking 19 acres of open water. That then becomes an obligation for us to replace. There's a couple of hierarchy considerations when you look at mitigation. One of them is, if you're doing a taking, you would want to mitigate as close as possible, preferably on the property, put the mitigation next to where the damage or the impact was. The other obligation, one of the other hierarchies, is that the agencies look for in-kind replacement. So if you're taking open water, the first thing the agencies will look for is for you to replace the open water, in kind. Now, it's possible to replace the open water with other habitat restorations, but the agencies look at that as a less valuable mitigation. Maybe we could, Kristen, maybe we could go back. Oh, over here. Okay, I'm sorry. We're here. So, for us, on Sparrows Point, we did look at shoreline restorations, looked at a lot of different variations of shoreline restorations, habitat restorations, the softening of the shoreline. We did get a lot of feedback from the agencies, helpful feedback, helpful guidance, that in many cases, that shoreline restoration was not a high value mitigation to them. They were really looking for open water. They're looking for us to replace the open water we took with open water. Shoreline restoration, habitat restoration is still acceptable, but at a much lower value. One of the things they argue is, okay, Pete, you're going out here and you're taking open water. And the way you're going to replace that is with the shoreline restoration, which actually takes open water. So you're trying to mitigate open water by doing restoration that takes open water. We are going to be doing some shoreline restorations on Bear Creek on the west side of Sparrows Point. We're doing habitat restoration. We'll be removing Phragmites and replacing Phragmites with a higher value wetland vegetation. However, to answer the mail, if you will, or to be as responsive as possible to the agencies, we will also be creating new open water. So for those of you who are familiar with Sparrows Point, there is a point down here. This is where Folsom is. There is a point down here of land that we will actually take out. We will dredge that material out and create tidal open water. Near the Cargill Lighthouse, there's also some other land that we will also take out and create both tidal wetlands and some wetland vegetation, vegetated wetlands. And the third spot that we will be taking is where the yacht clubs are located. The yacht clubs will also, the land itself, the yacht clubs will be dug out. We will create open water on that land which will transition into wetlands, which will then transition to upland vegetated property. We will also be up at the yacht clubs installing a community boat ramp, which will be contiguous and adjacent to the new park, which will then be turned over to the county. Yes, sir.
Have those areas,
Yes,
have those areas been tested?
yeah, all that, the yacht
Do you have
club.
data on that as well?
We have phase 2 data on it.
Okay, and that's listed someplace that we can read?
Well, what'll happen, well, the phase 2 is some wells. What'll happen, Keith, is the yacht club's actually pretty clean. They were actually drinking the water at the yacht club up to a few years ago. But what will happen is as we excavate this material and bring it on land, we will test we will provide greater testing of the material pursuant to whatever the NBE's guidance is.
You can take a step out here and you can find Bethlehem steel material out here. So you're not going to tell me that there's no material there. That's right off the shoreline as they started to build the peninsula out with man-made material.
I didn't follow you. I'm not telling you there's no material out there. I'm saying we will be digging the material out. We will test the material for reuse.
Well, you're going to dredge it, right? You're going to dredge it out.
No, this material is basically going to be brought back on land.
With machines.
Yes.
And you're going to stir it up and put it back up onto the land.
We will dig it up and put it onto the land, yes.
And that's not going to cause any cloudiness or
Well, we will,
distribution of mud or toxins or
we
anything?
will apply it. That's
It'll
not
only be
practice.
temporary.
It's only going to be,
We will use the best management practices to control turbidity. We have done dredging in the past, and we do have a good understanding of how the turbidity behaves.
is there permits for that as well?
There will be, yes. This is part of the draft EIS, and it's going to be part of the whole permitting process. And again, February 25th is going to be the public hearing where you can have an opportunity to make comments.
But you do not
I'm
have.
sorry, this gentleman is in front of the person. I'm sorry, I'm going to call him.
You've answered that?
Yes, sir.
I live on that creek, and when they were building that park, there was a bad rainstorm and all that, and that creek was destroyed for about a week with the mud that came into that creek. So how are you gonna explain when you're dredging that, how are you gonna stop that from entering into that creek?
There are some best management practices that can be employed, things like turbidity curtains, and how you actually regulate the lot. And that will be looked upon when we get the permits. Part of what the permits do is provide conditions on how you dredge. For instance, when we're dredging, our dredge permit will most likely say you need to use an environmental.
I just know it was a mess for like 3 weeks. I mean, it killed the fish, everything was gone. And that was Baltimore County that, put that park in. And when that water, it rained real bad, and I get it, it happened. But if I was building a home and that would have happened, I probably would have gotten in big trouble. Because I live
With the county.
with the county. But that creek on that corner where that park was at was just unbelievable how that was.
I assure you, particularly up there on Jones Creek, which is a little slice of heaven, by the way, we will take extraordinary measures to ensure that we have best management practices.
Yeah.
It will be built into the permit. Man, this gentleman, you're right up there.
So your mitigation plan, based on the first section, implies that you're eliminating those 2 yacht clubs.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am?
Is there any other place you can find to dig out?
These are the optimal locations at this point. This is the best at this point.
Pete,
Yes, sir.
if they're gonna take it's a hell of a lot of money to dig out. When Jonas Creek is basically a mud flat, it's been dredged 2 times. What about making the Corps real happy and clean the entrance channel and clean the sediment and go back and do that? Use money to save the creek. I mean, the shoreline is great, but why not incorporate dredging it? Because Jonas Creek was a mud flat, we had it dredged 2 times, it is filling in, and what you were saying, it just got worse, the mud was everywhere. So let's use...
Brian, you're talking about right down
Yeah,
here,
let's
right?
use the money and run all the way back like we did. Now, Baltimore County's done it 2 times. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, David Ryder. We've talked to him. He's got all of the documents from the last time it was dredged. So there they are. Everything's there. We might want to add some new spur dredging for a lot of new folks would like to be dredged.
Right, we're certainly willing to consider that. Right now, this is what's in the.
I know, but let's talk about it, because it's it's a great opportunity, once in a lifetime. And if the Corps has common sense, they go, you know, you're right, this is a mudflat, it's gotta be dredged anyway, let's get it back. Last time, first time before they dredged it, it was gonna kill all the SAVs. Then it came back, dredge it, because the SAVs came back. Sandy Seabag was in that. We were a national model of dredging these recreational waterways. So let's look at that. And there was a lot of money going around and a lot of digging. Let's dig the channel all the way back and let's do some spurs for folks. That's what let's let it breathe.
Let's look at those we can look at. I would say this, that for the mudflats, the agencies consider that open water.
I'm saying a mudflat. No, I'm saying a mudflat. Not recreational boating. That's not good to say. When the creek's closed off, the property values go down, 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 and the people, the nice folks, are going to move out.
Understood.
Submit that on the
And then, absolutely, February 25th. Starting something like that, but I do think, Brian, the agencies will look at those areas as already, even if it's still.
No, we're not opposed to that. I think that's just really, really a good idea. I really do.
Yeah, and actually, this would be with the community program.
I think it's great, but we gotta have water to get in and out, so let's
We feel the same way about the
consider an overall project, okay? But we're gonna help you, you know, we gotta help us.
Yes, sir.
How many acres are you gonna be removing at the yacht clubs?
About 4
I mean, waterfront property, in our opinion, we've discussed it, you know, just briefly. Waterfront property is invaluable right now. Once that's taken out, it'll never be able to be replaced. I know the projects in Masonville, Cox Creek, Poplar Island. Out of all of those, I've never heard of one where they made them actually create new open water. And maybe I just didn't get that information, but what agencies are telling you that you have to create that open water front?
Well, be careful. What the agencies tell us is these are the things you need to provide to satisfy your obligation. And for the hierarchy is, we want you to provide in kind. So if you're actually taking open water, they would want you to provide in kind. And it's not just the whim of an agency. It's I think pretty much written in their SOPs.
The location is important to what we own.
Right. Well, part of it also, the hierarchy is that we want your mitigation close or even contiguous to where the impact is. And certainly from our perspective, there's a logistical perspective here too, is if you own the property, you have control of the property. We can't go around looking at other people's property saying, hey, this would be a good idea. Let me do something on this property. Well, let me dig up this property and make it open water. I mean, we've looked at it, and Tom will done a yeoman's job of it. We've looked at a lot of gyrations on what the agencies will accept.
Hey, Pete,
Yes, sir.
Did you call for a grant for this?
A grant for mitigation?
Yes.
There's no progression.
No grant money, no bond.
This is basically an obligation on Sparrows Point Container Terminal for the taking of that open water.
Is the terminal people here? Is anybody representing the terminal people here?
You mean the terminal people?
The Terminal Investment Limited, are they here?
We are joint venture partners with them.
So you're gonna speak for them as well?
We are speaking for them as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's starting to fill in, but see the point is when you come into the creek, why didn't they just decide to take that property instead? Because everybody in the creek would benefit, it would be so wide. When you go up, see where North Point Yacht Club is, come up a little bit, it's all filling in.
Oh, you don't disagree.
So if you dredge that, that's your property, if you dredge that, it would benefit the community.
Yeah, that's just a cut. That's just a cut. In other words, this is one, maybe you go back to
It's 3 diagrams.
Yeah, this is actually Jones Creek here. So,
No, it comes out. I fish there all the time. Sorry? I fish there. It comes out right there. It comes out and then it goes in. You own
well,
all
this,
of
okay,
it.
this here is already a
Where Brian Hall
mitigation.
is, that point that comes out. Where Brian Hall's property is and that is, it comes out there.
Right here. Right here. This is already, a large portion of this is already a mitigation site.
Okay.
Where we're producing where we
Yes,
planted the trees.
they did replant, took all the, it's a real streetcar.
Go back
You're
here.
looking maybe from.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just looking at the map.
That was the original boy land when my mother was a kid. That's why it's, you have to make that dog leg. When they dredged it, we still make the dog leg.
So we hit this point, to your point, getting the points out of the way, and we hit this point. This has already got mitigation on it, and then we got up to this point here.
What he's saying, right, where you did the mitigation, now listen to this, guys. When we were dredged the first time hydraulically, that everybody runs aground on that side. They were paid $110,000 to dredge that. The night before, the dredger came in with a prop wash and prop washed it, and they signed off when he got 110. Just pushed the mud out in front of all our houses, and then it went back again. And we were told to shut up or we weren't going to get our spurs. So,
You didn't mechanically dredge?
that was hydraulically dredged the first time, 110 grand. They put the pole, 4x4s down, they ran every night, they filled their workboat up, they had one of the local oil companies that filled it up, so it dumped, front washed it out, came in clean, it all filled back, and that's where everybody runs around on that. So there's some stuff that, you know, we're looking at this, and we're seeing all this money. We would like to get a little money out of the river. And if you go back to Bethlehem Steel, on the other side where the bungalows, as you see in that map, back in 1949, there were 2 big creeks. That was all filled in, no silt fences, and it's just been choking Jones Street for years and years and years. And it's a great opportunity. There were all kinds of money. What a mitigation deal. Clean it out, maybe help some of the folks in North Point.
Yeah, just,
And I tell you, like, silt fences, for instance, is pretty basic with that county project.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear
I
that.
mean, it happens. I get it, you know.
Oh, generally speaking, because they're right on our property, they've been pretty considerate to neighbors today. Understanding they missed one there. Yes, sir.
so just a quick question. So the plan would be to dig out all the dirt in that the blue areas. And what are you gonna do with that dirt again?
We're gonna bring it on site and we'll test it, see if it can be
Are you
reused.
gonna raise the level of the property, on your property, or with it?
Well,
or-
if we reused it, we would probably break it down to an area that's being developed to raise the level. Right, you know, for instance, where we're building the container terminal, it's gotta be sustainable. Now, you're talking about climate change. Everything has to be a little higher. We're gonna be at an elevation of what?
Between 14 and 17 above sea level.
Which is well above the target at this point.
Right.
It's well above even 500 year.
Yeah, plus the sea level rise. Most conservative sea level rise forecast for the next 100 years.
If you build a nice berm around your property, we can dredge Jones's Creek and push it all up in there too.
You'll be surprised what we've tried to brainstorm.
Yeah, I bet you
But
would.
some of the other terminals in the facility, in the harbor, their elevation is about 8 or 9. So this new terminal is going to be up about 14.
Yeah.
Russ?
I only have one question on the whole thing, and that goes back to the geotechnical analysis. Geotechnical chemical analysis, we have the most intensive one, comprehensive one done. That was in by Maryland Court, and it took in, you actually used one of the photographs where they took all the samples. It's a footprint overlay of this. What I want to know is, how can it go from totally HTRW under, and that's hazardous toxic waste, radioactive waste designation by highest contaminated level for USACE, and also that report put it out as high priority contaminated under record. Now, what I want to know is, how can the samples that just taken, how can that overlay, how can it be 93% clean in the same footprint from 2 different reports? When we know, anybody science-minded knows, that one does not, it's like putting a jug of pure sulfuric acid on the ground glass bottle with a cap on a shelf. As long as it's in an anaerobic state, once it was dumped out and layered with sediment, it doesn't change. When you go in and reintroduce oxygen into it by dredging, stir it up, that's when it recommences the half-life period. So what I want to know is how is it that Doppler different between these two sets of reports?
Well, Russ, one thing I'll tell you is testing that was done even back in 2009, 2010, which was done by EA, by the way.
I know.
So we used the same consultant. None of it was record hazardous. While it was contaminated, it had constituents in it, none of it tested record hazardous.
That's the 2011 report, comprehensive report for risk assessment. With that whole area, it was off limits for children, swimming, pets, anything.
I'm just saying it wasn't record hazardous. People are sometimes.
I think we build a church in Grove Point, because this is a miracle. Everybody on their knees.
The sampling that was
This is
done,
a miracle.
the sampling that was done in 2009, 2010, which, by the way, focused mostly on the west side of Grove Point, which had much heavier contamination, because that's where NPA wanted to build their dredge facility, was a few graph samples. This is a much more comprehensive, dense sampling. And you have the information. The gentleman referring to Mr.
Frank Barongo.
I was speaking to Frank last night. Well, let me refer you to
Those samples that were taken went down to minus 60 feet, 3 levels in the sediment, and all the water was sampled at the same time.
The sample went down to 60 feet.
Yep, minus 60 feet.
So the risk assessment, because I did the risk assessment. So for the human health, it was only the 1 or 2 foot of sediment. And there were 2 separate risk assessments. There was one for modeling the uptake to fish, and there was a concern for the uptake of eating the fish, but there were not concerns for swimming or contact with the sediment.
I disagree.
Let me just refer you to spctmd.com, and the reports for both testing is available there, and the draft environmental impact statement also has this. And certainly, Russ, you're welcome to come and make your comments.
For the record, my question is, where did all the hazardous materials dumped by Sparrows Point disappear? They haven't allowed dredging there in the last 37 years. No agency has allowed major dredging other than maintenance. Where did all that contamination go? It's not there now?
I stand by these tests, I stand by these results. And I'd ask you, as you've been talking about this stuff, maybe take a look at the results.
I have. I've reviewed the 16 years. I haven't found the last analysis. I've looked all over the site.
spctmd.com.
I got
Look
it.
it up. That's what it is. Yes, ma'am?
For those of us that aren't scientists, this is, what I'm saying sounds a little bit scary versus what you're saying. Can you tell us in layman's terms why, you believe it's safe so that we can all understand and not be afraid by
Sure.
that force of,
What we did is work with the EPA, MDE, and the NPA, and design a much more extensive, much more comprehensive, and involved testing program than what was done in 2009, 2010.
So
We went out there and implemented, I'm sorry?
It was different tests or it was better?
It was more.
More
The actual sampling, the density, the depths, the density of the sampling itself was much greater, and there was a much more extensive list of analytes that were tested. And then we hired a toxicologist to review those results. And the risk assessment is also a process that is employed by the state and the EPA. So it's not a consultant coming along making up their evaluations. This is a very well-established risk assessment process. Yes, sir. Ed.
I got two-parter here, and I guess the first part is for the ladies with the consultant group. Do you guys just identify, or do you also guide TPA on how to handle the dredging? It's not a trick question. Are you just identifying the
We
toxins?
identify, and based on what we find, make recommendations with what would be the best types of practices to implement for dredging, as well as where the material can go.
Okay, so with that, right, so for dredging, to me, I'm just, layman's terms here, we're dredging, we have an open wound. Will there be a cap of some sorts of clean material that says, like, this is your Band-Aid, or you walk away? And, does that make sense, or is that crazy talk?
Yeah, there won't be any open wound, because of the depth. The depth.
Well, listen, hold on.
The depth to which we are dredging, down to 52 feet, is well below where there's historical contamination.
Okay, that's all.
And when the wharf is built, it's gonna be a revetment wharf, so the wall itself is basically gonna be angling down to 50 feet. That's also going to be capped with 3 feet of armor stone.
With what?
3 feet of armor stone.
Okay.
Is there any more questions? Yes, sir.
The high head basin, are you guys digging down into that?
No, what we're doing is building an impermeable back around the basin.
So you drew all the water out, all the effluent that was left in there, right?
It's still in use right now. The city's still using it.
It's used by Back River?
It's still used by Back River.
That's because I don't see any water coming out of those pipes, so.
Occasionally, they may not send water down, but generally speaking, they're sending us water, and they're sending about 18 million gallons a day.
And by the way, Back River's been non-compliant since 2015, since you guys been here. So, yeah.
I can't comment on the city.
They were bringing over 100 million gallons down to you guys to cool the rolls. Now we're not. So all that's being injected into Back River, and that's why Back River's been non-compliant since 2015.
I think they're challenging in way than just that case. But I do know the MD about a year and a half ago took over the operation off Back River, right? And they did an extraordinary job because they got Back River back into compliance. I can't talk for Back River. What is it?
Here's the thing, so you're going to mediate the thing, but you took a 300,000 square foot warehouse and put it on the only clean land in Sparrow Point. It's called Kenwood Park. The only clean land, and you go ahead and build, first you put your base down, which is slag and mixed with other toxins, who knows, and then you drop a warehouse on the only clean land in Sparrow Point. That's hard for me to understand. And it makes me upset. Is anybody at that table that you're sitting at from Sparrow Point? Any of you guys live in Sparrow Point? Who lives in Sparrow Point?
I played baseball on that field, and
I did too. I played football. Who's from Sparrow Point?
We all are.
Sparrow Point.
Come on.
So I don't really understand about the land for the 2 yacht clubs, that take that on the dredging to make open water. You already own that property?
Yes.
Okay. You
We got a question on the floor.
What about, just ignore that. What about, I know, the people who use that now as a yacht club, are you gonna place them someplace else, or are they going to be, what's gonna happen to them? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been there a really long time.
They have been there a long time. We've been working with the yacht clubs over the last 10 years since we purchased the property and having ongoing conversations about, not sure what the long-term plan in the future would be for use of the site. We haven't really hadn't focused our development plan on the yacht clubs. And they will be displaced. One of the things that we are going to be working with the yacht clubs on, if this plan goes forward, is a timeline, working to make sure that there is a long enough transitionary period on when we would need to do the mitigation, because it's up to the federal agencies to time when we would need to do the mitigation. So if we can appeal to them and say, can we do this towards the back end of the project maybe, and buy us a couple more years, then that can give a longer runway for the yacht clubs to be able to make the transition. And that's one of the arguments we'll be making, and we hope that the yacht club members and the community will be making is, look, okay, we understand this is gonna happen, it is private property, it has been owned by us, the yacht clubs have been there for 10 years, they're there.
More than that.
But, I mean, for us, they've been there 10 years, for us, they've been there 10 years since we've owned it.
Yes.
And that, that the, and they don't pay any rent, they're good stewards of the land, but, this is what we're looking to do with the property, and we're hoping to have a nice transitionary period, to be able to do that.
They've also improved the land, right?
I said good stewards of the land.
So, I know you guys have been really good community partners, and you've helped out a lot in the community. Are you going to look for ways to help them? I mean, I'm not a boat person, I don't even like to take a shower. Just kidding. But, to help them out, because they have been here for a really, really long time.
What we can do, we have met with the yacht club, and they are great stewards and guests, if you will. But we met with the yacht club probably about 7 years ago. And that time, we thought, and we communicated, we probably have another 2 or 3 years on site. And it's actually been 7 or 8. And what we can do is, working with the agencies as we present the application plan, is try to time it to give the yacht club as lengthy a time as possible for transition.
What's your projection?
But that's,
Open.
you know, that,
Open a couple of years. But I without talking to the agencies, I don't know.
On the yacht club, it's the last known bungalow, on that club. So is there any way we can salvage that?
Yes, that's part of the, if you go back to those, because we were very mindful of that. That's area here, so we talked about the community boat ramp. What is currently part of Pleasant Yacht Club would be converted to a community boat ramp. And there's this building here, that's that bungalow. So we don't have a plan for it, we don't, that's a community conversation.
What about the lake
that we
house?
had.
What about the lake house?
That's got to stay, it's a navigational aid. That's under Coast Guard.
So it's on your property, so do you keep up with that, maintain that?
It's federal property, we're not allowed to.
It's Coast Guard.
It's falling apart, the copper lantern, or whatever they call it, gonna kill somebody.
Well, let me say this way, that lighthouse is a unique structure. And if we can, we would.
Here's the third deal on it. I checked it, I talked to 2 admirals who are on the lighthouse committee, and they're about ready to kick tail, okay, here locally. They're kick tail. It goes, I heard from you guys, or people that are working down at Tradepoint, that the Coast Guard has told everybody to stay away. Now, the way that worked, when the original people owned Sparrows Point, it was either 1 year or 2 years before it was Maryland Steel or McShane, whoever came in there, they gave them a lease. That they didn't care about. Okay, it's Coast Guard, leave it alone. So all those years, that never conveyed to Bethlehem Steel and to all the other owners or to yourself. So it's owned by that little piece is owned by the Coast Guard. From what we're hearing, when people want to, take a tour or restore it, the local Coast Guard is pulling rank. But there are 2 retired admirals on the lighthouse society, and we've contacted them. They are furious. I mean, they will go to Homeland Security Director, who takes care of. We just fired one. Trump just fired one Coast Guard commandant. And you guys will have carte blanche that you can go in there. Now we need to have somebody to adopt it. Tradepoint could adopt it, or we could have a committee here. And it's not going to cost $1 million. It's not done this point. Get some sheet metal, a genie lift, some paint. We're done. Put the copper back on before it blows off. The hand hammered copper, and we're done. And you guys can have picnic tables. You can be all part of this mitigation. And if you want, I'll talk to Quasi, Van Hollen, plus these 2 guys. And we were furious, the lighthouse lovers. And we know where you were. And I know that's not for you to be screaming. You got other things on the platter. But if you let us take it, you know, we'll get in the lighthouse group, and then we'll work. And it might be something you might want to do with your historical society.
And you're right about that. We did write letters to the Coast Guard, and that's when they kind of said, look, we don't have any funding. It's not a priority for us. And, but if there is I think honestly, Brian, it's a really good idea. As we go into the public comment period, and you talk about mitigation and what the agencies can say, look at this. This is an opportunity. This is for the community. I mean, I think that is taken into account. That becomes part of the record.
And we bring Brian to all our community meetings, because he's kind of like our historian.
Yeah. You know, there used to be a house that the keeper would live on, and the foundation is still there, the bones are still there. If we could take that bungalow and move it down where those bones were, fix it all up around there, make it historical.
That was the Green family.
Yes.
So it was a white lighthouse, like, the old timers still called it Green's Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Do you have
It'd be a beautiful spot.
somebody wants to know, when you're excavating that, how much effect will that have on the new park? Will there be a lot of dust, or when you're...
Well, it's going to be coming out pretty wet, so we don't expect dust, but it will not impact the park.
Okay.
I have a question totally on another part of the property. Across from FedEx, across the Beltway, bunch of cars, pop-up tent, all that. What is going on over there?
Inside of the Cloverleaf, the Beltway?
No. Is that, I mean, it may be part of that job. I don't know. It's like on the old dump, like the entrance to the old dump. What's going on over there?
Oh, BGE. They're doing a horizontal drill underneath Bear Creek, and they're coming up at that point, so they can...
Okay, that's what's going through Water's Edge?
So I guess it's Water's Edge?
Yes.
They're drilling now. They got the conduits laid out. When they drill, they gotta go in, they can't stop, and then when they pull back with the conduit, they gotta do it all in one fell swoop. That's why you see the conduit kind of wrapped around the road there.
Well, they didn't do any public service and put anything out there, so maybe the Water's Edge, but...
Communication has not been the best with BGE on that project.
Have you considered putting any of your dredge material on farmers' fields, 1 foot thick, and then put hydrated lime on it, then take and plow it under 24 or 18 inches, and it won't affect the farmer in any way, and you'll have a place to put your dredge once it becomes solidified. I mentioned this to the people at another meeting, and they said they're going to look into the matter because they won't need to have any more places for dredge to be where it's going to take tidal water away, just like you were mentioning earlier, and they'll have a space to put the dredge all the time at no cost to the farmer. The dredge people will truck it in, 1 foot thick, replow it under. It'll be below the ground level of the normal planting, and hydrate a line, and it's been proven that it's okay to do it that way.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we have not considered that, but I would tell you this, that MPA has been working on innovative reuse now the last 15 years, and that's the kind of thing that they are talking about.
And my name is Francis M. Seaman Sr., and I mentioned it to other places where we had different meetings, and they all agreed that it's okay to put that on the farmer's field, get permission, and at no cost to the farmer. And if it's during the planting time, you pay the farmer for what he would have lost in his crop while that transaction is taking place, and you'll always have plenty of places to put the dredge material.
And that's the kind of thing that the innovative reuse program has been evaluated.
So you don't have to truck a barge it all the way down to the ocean or anything. There's plenty of farmland around.
One more sarcastic remark, and I hope you don't mind.
I'd be disappointed if I didn't get at least one more from you.
And I've been beating you guys, but, you know, you guys haven't been good stewards to our heritage as well, by the way. I'm going to tell you that. But here's the thing. No, I know you took it to the city. We don't live on Key Highway. We live here on Sparrows Point. And that's all I'll say about that. But the one thing, you guys can't control the traffic right now. What makes you think you can control 1,600 trucks per day? Why would you even think that they were gonna go up and go around and follow that?
That's the most, well, you have to understand the mentality. They're gonna wanna get to where they need to as fast as possible. They're paid, somebody in the trucking industry, they know. They're gonna find the most efficient way.
That's when the key bridge is back.
They're gonna go 695.
Well, there'll be a train of trucks going that way, and then those other trucks, the other 800 trucks, will go down North Point Boulevard.
You can't even compare it because none of it's even complete yet, not even a portion of it.
Go over and look at Dundock Green Terminal, you'll see what I'm talking
We're
about.
there every day.
It's miles of trucks.
This
going
is,
into-
and keep that Brody Highway is not an accurate of what this will be. This is a terminal that is so uniquely positioned within 3,100 acres, 5 square miles of land, industrial land. If there's any queuing, and Tom can talk to this because we modeled it, it's not going to go very far. It's not going to impact anybody outside of the park. And the trucks are going to utilize this interchange to go north and to go south, because that's where they're going. That's where they're going. They're not going up into the community. They're going to go. They're going to haul their cargo to the I-95 corridor to get there. That's where they're going to go.
Right now, the majority of those trucks coming out of Dundalk or Ports America Chesapeake had the ability to come onto that cloverleaf and even use what they were using previously, which is use that cloverleaf to go down there and avoid all of those lights that cause all that congestion and backup, especially in the morning, and just get on to 695 or even 925. You wouldn't have them attempting to either go through the back roads or get on off. They would simply want to just go out there, get on, and get onto the highway. They don't want the traffic just as much as you don't.
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, we're waiting on
I have a question. So 15,
So in other words, when you get this all done, this great road you're building, we can make North Point Road no trucks over 3/4 ton, and that'll solve the problem.
That's a good point.
So that's all the problem. You guys got a great road, a great railway.
I mean,
Make North Point Road.
there are tenants that are going to be here, that this is their artery for them, but the terminal operation, this is where their terminal's going to come. But there's still businesses that are going to operate along this corridor, so there will be truck traffic. But not the velocity that we've been seeing, because this is going to definitely, once we get this intersection fully operational again, this is operating at full capacity. When I come in the morning, trucks are now starting to make a right. They're figuring out, Fourth Road takes us down here and past all of this, because they don't want to sit at the light.
So I just have one quick question. So in the paragraph in your book, it says that we're going to have 1,500 when it's all done. More trucks a day. 1,500 more trucks a day coming out of the terminal or coming into the terminal, one or the other.
In and out.
In and out.
That's a shit ton of trucks. Now, do you think the current roads can handle that? Do you think that loop can handle 1,500 more per day? I don't know. I haven't done the traffic study, but I'm just curious as to. Because it makes sense to me to get on the highway and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Not come off North Point Boulevard.
Yeah.
The traffic study is actually in the environmental impact statement that you can access.
So my point is that you guys are going to be the stewards of all this. Please get the state involved and make these roads wider. Whatever you need to do to keep the roads ahead of you, so that we don't feel the impact of it as much. Please.
Well, you see, Bethlehem Boulevard looks a lot nicer than it did when I was here 10 years ago. I started here 10 years ago. You've got a lot more turn lanes. It's paved well. It's lighted. So those are the kind of improvements that are going to be.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Stay on the stage.
The thing is, for 10 years, we've been talking about tractor trailers parking on North Point Boulevard, in front of M&T Bank, in front of Food Line, in front of 7-Eleven. For 10 years, we've been talking about
And
this.
you're right about that, and that's why we talked with SHA, and we asked for that. We went to Annapolis and asked for money for planning for that, for the
But do
community.
you represent the companies in Tradepoint Atlantic? Do you represent all the companies?
We don't represent those companies. What I'm saying is, we went and looked at, we knew that's an issue. We asked for planning dollars from the state. We jumped ahead of many other communities by doing that. We went directly to the appropriator and said, this is important to us, it's important to the community partners. We need to get the project started now, and that's what we did. We got funding for the planning, which is, that's half the sandwich you need. The other half is getting construction dollars, and that's another thing. So they went through the planning exercise with the money that we had allocated to them. They have a plan they're going to present next month. Part of that plan is actually going to eliminate that parking on that side.
So, yeah, we got to see that plan ahead of time, and I hope everybody can come out for that plan. I was surprised and pleased. So, yes, if you can, come out for that. They did a good job on that. All we have to do now is get it built.
Yeah, we heard you, and we used our resources as a company to bypass, the county was not happy with us at the time, but we did it. And we went and said, this is important for us, it's important for our community that we're neighbors with, and we'd like to have a study so we can understand. And now once the community gets agreed to what the plan is supposed to be, we're going to use those same resources and try to go get funding for it. And to try to alleviate that. So that's the partnership that we have, and that's the partnership we've been working with over the last couple of years. So you'll see more of that come to fruition in March.
When was that meeting?
Next month. Next month's meeting, state's going to be here.
Next month.
Next March.
One,
Correct.
oh, okay.
I just have a question, or assumption that they said earlier. I was just asking that, did you hear that,
Whitemore's
about
transfer.
the two differences in the studies, that one said that one was like only a couple feet down, and then that maybe it was your professional finding or opinion that the second study that went down far enough for the current 52 feet that you felt like it was below the contamination site, is that correct? Maybe that's why they were so substantially different? I wasn't sure, I was trying to get clarification on that. Is that correct?
Well, there is contamination at depth also.
What was the
Well,
question?
Didn't
get a question.
Oh, the lady was asking, what is the difference between the different analysis and surmising what could
I thought
happen?
she said earlier that she felt that 52 feet was below the contamination.
But the core above the 52 feet had contamination. These are just superficial.
Right, but it didn't go the whole way down to 52.
Right. And what happens with the agencies, what we're trying to do is characterize the entire.
Yes, that's in study.
Somebody had a question online. The railroad. No.
I have.
Someone on.
Any puppy dogs?
Someone online wants to know if the railroad that goes by the new park is going to be used. It didn't look. It looked like you were.
The railroad by the new park?
There's train tracks.
The yard.
It's
That
existing.
rail yard? It's a storage yard. It's very rare. I mean, cars will go there, they'll sit and get pulled in, pulled out, but it's not going to be any frequency of use. That's not a main portion of our rail.
The comment is
long-term storage.
Comment is good. Yes, sir.
Thing doesn't work.
Howard Jones?
There you go. I think it works now. Aaron, my question is, it seems like it's obvious that they're going to dispose of or both yacht clubs, but we have a lot of history between the two clubs. And I hear since the investment is about over $1 billion, it's a lot of money. Seems like is going around for testing and things of that nature. Well, maybe is it possible that there could be some money to help when it's time for the club to move out, to transition out? You know, and just help us in that manner. I would like for that to be considered, if you don't mind.
At the Commodore, it's a fair ask. We will definitely look at that.
Thank you.
Are we gonna go?
I'm not sitting next to him.
I just want to say the park looks very, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully, you know, if this goes through, the boat ramp will be in addition to that, and that area. And again, keep just some ideas to work on the, yeah.
My brainchild.
Okay.
When you eliminate the yacht club, what are you gonna put there?
Water.
Water.
Tell me water. 6 feet of water.
Water, trees, and wetlands.
What's that?
Water, trees, and wetlands.
Water treatment?
No, more trees.
We're gonna go back to nature. Before we close out, I do want to thank everybody for your questions. These are all very good questions, and they're all things that we want to continue to learn from you. What's important. That's part of why the frequently asked question document was put together. Hopefully you do find it helpful. It is a nice summary for this, but if you really want some bedtime reading, this is pretty riveting. But there's a lot of information on this back panel. I really want to kind of hope you look at that. There's resources back here to be able to log into. And there's information about the upcoming community hearing. Again, that will be the 25th of February, 5 o'clock at Solid Point. That is an opportunity for the community to come and provide testimony for the project. There's a lot of good ideas that were brought out here that we want the agencies to consider and look at. That's the time to kind of, put that on the record. And there will be if you can't make that evening event, there's a virtual event on the 27th where you can log on and you can ask questions. There will be a virtual link that you can get that's being published. And again, all the information, as soon as we get new information, we're putting it on sbctnv.com. Please use that as a resource. Everything is there. All of our documents, all of the studies. And we're happy to answer any questions you all might have. The info at sbtmd.com, if you email that, it goes to Kristen and I, and then the rest of our team. So you're getting directly to us, and we will be responsive and answer any questions you guys might have. I do appreciate your patience. I appreciate your partnership over the last 10 years. This has been a lot of change for the community. I recognize it. I've seen it. I lived it. And we're hoping to continue to really make sure that Sparrows Point continues to be an economic engine for our region. And we hope that at the end of the day, we have a cleaner, greener option than what was there before. And again, we're long-term partners with you. You've seen me gray over the last 10 years.
Tell me about it.
So it's that's the commitment we have, and the partners that we have with us are long-term commitment to Baltimore. So I appreciate everybody's patience and your understanding. And there are times when we're not going to agree. There are times we're going to agree. But how we come together and collaborate is how we can move forward together and grow and sustain this community. So I just want to thank you all for your patience.
Aaron, can you leave some of those books with us? And for anybody who's not physically here, can they access this booklet at the website?
Yes, you can download a PDF of this booklet on the website. It's absolutely there. So all the information is perfect.
Aaron, you have a couple of copies of those?
Yeah.
I have some people calling in from the neighborhood that want it.
There's a couple up here. And if you need more, we have more at the office. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. A lot of good information. Guys, just hold on 1 second if you would. The yacht club, if there's anything that we can do to help transition, maybe to a private to a private facility or something, just get in touch with us and we'll do whatever we can to make that transition a little bit easier, a little bit less of a. Did you want to say anything? Are you guys? Did you not say anything?
No, I'm good.
Nice having you here tonight.
And wait a minute.
Guys, we have applications for next. You want to join? I'm going to just take a pause here for a couple minutes. I think a lot of people are leaving now. We still have some.
Still have a meeting.
Guys, we still got a meeting going on. So hey! You're going to leave. All right, just a couple updates. So, you know, one of the projects we've been working on is getting those old mechanical sidewalks in place. That's on Lincoln, Bayfront, Lodge Forest. And the county has agreed that they will do that for us. But one thing we have to do is get signatures from the property owners that are joining those walkways to get permission for the county to do the work. And then they said they would restore the property back to whatever it looked like before. So we're going to be starting in February. Well, this is February. We're going to be starting probably in a couple of weeks as soon as the warm's on the pad. Knocking on some doors and see if we can get those. So if you know anybody who's along those sidewalks or the mechanical walkways, please let them know that we're going to be coming out. We're not selling anything. We're really just trying to get that walkway repaired after 30 or 40 years of disarray. One of the things, if you've been coming to the meetings with the dredging, Hart Miller Island was a proposal. It was withdrawn by Tradepoint after opposition. The Hart Miller committee is meeting next week. It'll be the first meeting since all that. It's going to be interesting to see how we're going to move forward. And we'll bring that information back next month when we have our next meeting. We have some members of the Hart Miller committee here tonight, and I thank them for coming. Been some community concern about the trash. Guys, can you keep it down just a tad? Some concern about disarray and some trash at the new kayak launch at Fort Howard Park. We called the county to find out who was going to be responsible for keeping that clean. And it's just like any other county park. Just like any other county park, Record Parks is going to be the one that will clean that. If you see an issue and it's not cleaned up, give Record Parks a call and they'll have somebody come out with it.
3827. 410-887-3827.
That's Ed's personal number. No. There have been some comments about North Point State Park lately. A lot of comments, they cut down a tree, other things going on there. You know, one of the organizations that we lost this past year was the Friends of North Point State Park. It's so important to have a group that sits at the table with them to hear what's coming up, to make comments and give them feedback from the community. So I've talked to a few people. If anybody's interested in taking a leadership role in that group, we'll certainly do whatever we can to get that going back up again. It's important for all of us. And Friends of Paul right there is the chair of the Friends of Hart Miller Island, and he's been a really active member of that Friends group. So if anybody wants to take on leadership, just let us know. We'll see what we can do with that. Key Bridge rebuild design came out. Personally, I thought it looked great. Could hardly wait to get it finished. Really modernized the whole thing. 3 bills are in Annapolis right now that we're concerned with. One is Senate Bill 0014 from Senator Solling. He is proposing you have to register, get license and insurance for e-bikes. You know, a lot of people use e-bikes on trails now. I don't know how that's going to affect that. I get the point of it. You know, you see these e-bikes zooming along the roads now. There's really got to be some kind of control, but I don't know if registration and basically taxing e-bikes is the way to go. So we're going to be watching that one. Senate Bill 292 is one that our officers, I'm sure, have heard about. They won't be able to pull you over for bad registrations or a whole myriad of things as far as what they could pull you over for now. They're all secondary. And the worst part about it is if they do, then they will be subject to discipline, administrative discipline. So it's a bad bill. It's by a guy named Sidler, I think. And that leads to the third one. Delegate Grammer has a bill in, HB 335. We've been testifying against this bill for probably 5 years. And Sidler is the one who originally wrote it. Robin took it over. It redefines community association. It takes away what we think was the verification that a group actually represents the community. You don't have dues, you don't have membership. It's a bad bill. Anybody can start an organization and say they represent a group, and there's no way to verify it.
Earl, did you say membership? There are slips at the desk, and you can sign up tonight for $20. You can't beat that.
2 for 40.
Meal
We'll have a
served
deal. 2
at
for
every
40.
meeting.
February 24th is IFD7 on here, but it's D6, so it's the open house in Annapolis. So if you want to get down there and talk directly with your representatives, it's a great night to do that. We'll be talking more about the budget town halls the county's doing. Ours is not until the end of March. Like I said, we'll be talking, discussing what we're going to be asking for this year. We go every year and we have our wish list, and one of them is the macadam sidewalk. So finally one of them came through.
Say something on that?
Absolutely.
Please, if you get a chance, come out for that. We did get the macadam sidewalk by lobbying at that hearing or that open forum. So if you don't like the trash or certain things, definitely you should come to the town hall meeting and voice your opinion. They have all the agencies there and they are listening.
Our date for D7 might change, so keep an eye out for that.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, it's the 26th of March, but I'm not sure that's going to stay.
Okay, great. And last but not least, we're talking internally for dumpster days. We're apparently on a list, so when we get more information on that, we'll get that out to the community. We look forward to that every year. It's a busy morning, but it's a great time. We meet so many neighbors that you really never have any contact with. It's a great time.
You come out and watch Linda work hard. She works hard.
Hardly.
So anyway, does anybody have anything else? Right, the speaker next month is state highways, so that really is good. And one of the side benefits of this plan, it's trying to get us connectivity for pedestrians from the Hall Road to the Hall Road that goes right up into the park to the new park. So that's really hopefully going to be one of the benefits of this also. Anybody have anything else? Yes.
Yeah, we walked the Hall Road, and we're seeing some surveying stakes over behind, yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
We do.
And we also see the core drill going on in front of the county property there. Okay, you got it.
So, yeah, this is something we worked closely on too. It was brought to our attention, and we've been working with the county. It's a pumping station that's going in. It's going to be closed for about a year, right? About a year. And so, yes, we're all going to be hindered with that one. But it's up, in our view, it's a very positive move for the community. It's not for development.
The Hall Road will be closed?
Yes.
And that's for safety reasons, because they're going to be doing work in the wooded area, but they need to put equipment and all,
So
everything.
what was the core drilling for in the creek? They were actually core drill. There's a piece of county property that you can only get to through like the trailer park area. And they were actually core drilling right across from Waters Marina.
They may have a discharge pipe there for an overflow at that pumping station. I don't know. I'm guessing. I would like to know more about that. I can ask.
Actually, Mike Spivey was with me when we seen him doing the core drilling.
We'll see if we can find out something.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see if we can find out. Yes, Brandon.
I'd like to thank the condition take place. What happened was the fire department came there and they end up not going out on the ice for some reason or another. They left and one of the residents went out on the water and retrieved one of the deer. They were all separated. They couldn't stand up because the river was ice, like a table glass of glass. It was all clear. They had nothing to stand on. So the resident went out, and then the next thing you know, the fire department was called back because the resident was out on the water and retrieved the deer. And the fire department came, and 2 teams and life raft boats that they stood in, one in the front and one in the back, and they went out and retrieved the other 2 deer that was there, and they released them in the marsh over on the west side below Tiki Bar. I'd like to congratulate the team, and I didn't think to call the WBAL for the conditions for them to bring the helicopter and watch them take and retrieve the deer.
Well, the fire department are great community partners, and we acknowledge them quite often. So, yeah, thank you for that.
And one other thing, I'd like to continue to have back river dredged to 1940. I've called in the politicians, and they refuse to do anything about it. And every time in the summertime when boats go up and down, all the sediment that's in the water gets turned up. And if somebody doesn't live on Back River, they won't understand how dirty the water is.
Duly noted, thank you.
And also, for our sewage and water bill that we receive, we should not have to pay anything any more than what the amount of liquid comes to Back River. It should have a meter on it and monitored, so we don't have to pay the usage of water that people wash their cars. They water their garden, they have children putting little boats out, little swimming pools out. We should not have to pay that, and they should have it monitored, and Baltimore County and Baltimore City should be in partners over the matter that is there, so we don't have to pay the extra cost, and we only pay the amount of water that comes in to be treated.
Duly noted. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Hey, Frank, quick question about the sidewalks again.
Yeah.
Because sidewalks are going to really modernize our community, I think.
They're not sidewalks.
And kids need that sidewalks badly. Can you just talk a little bit more about where they're going to be and when they're going to start?
So these are just replacements for those blacktop sidewalks.
Are they going to re-blacktop or are they going to cement it?
They're going to re-blacktop. Here, you can go. The whole. There's like a whole.
So with the county, yeah, we've been involved in this from the beginning because it does affect us, and we do want sidewalks and whatnot. But they can't put sidewalks in without curb and gutter and all these standards that we don't have because we're critical bay and the aging community and the deeds and the titles and everything else that goes along with everything. So these were put down by Bethlehem Steel when it was Bethlehem Steel property. We are fortunate to get this. They are careful not to call them sidewalks. They are trails at best, and this is what we could get. So, some of them are very deteriorated, and, hearing horror stories of people falling, elderly, and all that, trying to traverse them. So, this is what we could get, and we're taking it.
Yeah,
because we're never getting a sidewalk.
They're not ADA approved, for one thing.
They are not ADA.
They go right past the nursing home at St. Luke's, and they lead to a school. And for them to not be able to put curbs and sidewalks and storm drainage in cement, not those asphalt things that have been there since I walked to school.
Right.
Back in '85. They should give us sidewalks.
As long as I've been a member here, it's always been on the forefront. We've always battled for it, and we always get shot down. We've been trying to get the macadam replaced between the schools. Now you see the kids. Hordes of kids go back and forth across that. That's been how many years? We got money, we got everything, but we don't have a sidewalk.
I just want to make one correction about St. Luke's. Whoever said that.
In relation to...
Wait a minute. Linda.
St. Luke's is an independent senior subsidized housing. It is not a nursing home.
Okay.
People who live there have to be able to take care of themselves. Many of them still work, many of them still drive.
Well, my point was that a lot of them use walkers and wheelchairs, and they don't have a damn sidewalk to walk on, and it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
So what are we going to do with St. Luke's?
What's going on with St. Louis? We are concerned with that
We don't
also.
know.
We
Want to buy it?
I do.
planned it by years. Nobody really has any information that we've heard yet.
Contact the
Everybody-
Archdiocese of Baltimore.
everybody that we think may be able to do something with that property that would not affect the community, we let them know it's available. And I would recommend that anybody else do that, but, I mean, it's
So
up
you
for
guys
grabs.
haven't heard anything from the Catholic diocese of what's going on with the property?
No, nothing.
Really? Like, it's not like I heard it's gonna be a high rise.
What?
It's gonna be torn down and put a high rise,
Haven't heard a word.
okay?
For seniors?
Nothing circulating.
I guess.
Senior high rise?
We'd like to make it a multi-community, area, where we can still do.
Like they have over at
We
Church
just wrote, I just wrote a letter last month to the county saying the same thing. It's a great spot for a public, some type of public building.
Yes.
A center, music, whatever.
A center.
Just last month we said, I mean, maybe a little longer.
We need to do a heritage center there.
It's also on our request.
We can do.
And they
still
could
have
put
a
the
food bank.
post office there
Still have a food
also.
bank there.
Post office, it could be, anything in
office.
the
And they
thing.
could make it a community center like they have over at Turner
Amen.
Station.
Okay, I'm
Last
Okay,
thing
we got,
I
we have
have-
2 more minutes, that's it.
I have.
My phone is
in
going
relation
dead.
to the ice on the water, if somebody goes in the on the ice and the ice breaks, they have no means of getting some type of boat there. Baltimore County does not have a swamp boat or an airboat, which if they had something like that, they could go out on the ice and retrieve the body as well as they could have did for the deer, because it took them an hour or better, maybe 2 hours to retrieve the deer over there on Back River 2 Sundays ago.
All right,
So we should be pushing for something on that. And if there's a drowning victim out there the same, they could go out and be there in a matter of minutes.
okay, we can do that. Guys, that's it for tonight. We're getting, check out the old map, the old photo back there. You see just how much